Welcome back. Last week, Governor Hogan signed a bill that would extend penalties to uninsured drivers to non-Maryland residents who would otherwise be unaffected by the law. Ken, how do you think this new law is going to play out?
So, something I always have concerns on is whenever there's a law that is named after somebody. That law is quite often passed based upon emotion instead of based upon what's actually in the law. I guess my real question here is, so in this case, it was the law was created because, and I apologize, I do not remember the person's name. There was somebody who was killed in an accident by an uninsured motor vehicle from out of state. Now, my question here would be, would that law actually have prevented said incident from happening? And I think the answer is probably no. Well, so are we actually making an impact with this? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this law is a bad idea, but I'm saying, is this actually law the effective impact that we want? And
what you're really supposed to do, isn't it supposed to ensure that motorist is insured? And not everybody driving across the border, either north or south, must be insured.
Sure, and just like there's a sign on 81 that says, when you go from West Virginia to Maryland right now, you have to do 55 miles an hour. Okay, there's a sign there. That doesn't mean people are going to listen.
But I think the teeth in the law says that you have to be insured up to your home state standards.
Yes.
So if they're not already insured up to their home state standards, do you really think that they're going to care that Maryland's going to fine them $1,000? Because, I'm not going to get into an accident. I mean, it's $1,000 or it's a year in prison.
I better drive away. I better avoid at Maryland because I don't have my insurance up to date. No, it's not going to.
They're already in violation of their state law.
Right. It's not going to have the impact that we want. Like I said, I'm not saying this is a bad law. All right, I think it's a great idea that hey, everybody needs to have their insurance up to whatever their state requires.
Well, and why should those drivers from out of state be not penalized for driving in our state as an uninsured motorist?
Right. But
if they get a speeding ticket in Maryland, they would have to pay it.
But the only way we're going to find is if they violate the law. They're pulled over for something or involved in an accident.
Right.
That's the only way we're going to find out.
This, to me, Ron, is common sense legislation. I don't know why it would be any other way, in my view.
Well, it passed the legislature.
It did.
The governor's getting ready, or he signed it. He signed he signed it into law. But it's I've yet to see the real reason as to what it will do to cause anyone not to be involved in such an accident. The person was rear-ended at Garrett's Mill Road off of Route 67. Mm-hmm. And with that happening, what does this law do that protects the person that was rear-ended?
It doesn't. It puts money in the Maryland coffers from out-of-state drivers.
And it gives that person that was hit, his family, some reasonable doubt that there is an insured motorist that they can go after for to get some of their money back because of medical expenses, etc.
Right.
So how does that all work, dude?
Well, and we've even got this problem here with drivers in our own state. That there are people driving out there that they don't have up-to-date insurance information. They probably got a suspended license plate. All right, and they're still out there driving. All right, I've got a good friend of mine got hit by somebody that had no insurance on their vehicle, so they couldn't go after them for anything besides basic civil stuff. And they said
isn't there an uninsured motorist fine?
And that was about all they could get. Yeah.
But there was
anything beyond that they couldn't get.
There was some kind of gap when they held the trial for this individual that caused the accident, that they couldn't claim because they didn't have insurance. So maybe this is trying to tie those loose ends together that allows for you to go after the individual because they failed to live up to their state requirements. I'm not sure. Like Jim said, I think it's more of, we're addressing this at the end of it. We're essentially, whacking them on the hand with, it's not going to, if someone's life is lost, it's not going to address that. It's an accident. If they're pulled over, they have to provide proof of insurance. If they don't meet it, then the state is going to fine them another, $1,000. Well, they may not have insurance because they can't afford it. So, how are we going to recoup that money? Are we going to impound their vehicle? Are we going to put them in jail? Does this really solve the problem? Or are we addressing a way on how to solve it?
It's feel good legislation, and it has the potential to put money back in the state of Maryland from these uninsured drivers.
Right.
And I'll guarantee you that before its passage, somebody, probably multiple people, did the calculation on this is the number of cases where we'd had uninsured drivers, that number times 1,000, and we're going to collect 80, 70, whatever the percentage of that is. There you go.
But you had an interesting comment about you had problems with emotional type legislation.
Absolutely.
Where a name was involved, whether it was the Brady bill when Reagan was shot, or whether it's in this particular bill, or whether the other day when Jimmy Kimmel came out and talked about his son, or whatever. But doesn't it take an emotional time, like when George Bush stood in front of the Twin Towers when they were down and says, we'll come after you? Doesn't it take these emotional moments to get things done?
So great point there. So yeah, we passed the Patriot Act after that. And then come to find out, oh hey, we were doing all sorts of domestic spying, and what were we justifying it through? The Patriot Act. So
do you feel safer now than you did before then with the Patriot Act?
I do not feel that the Patriot Act has actually done the effect it should. As far as making it safer, I think that.
How safer can you be?
Well, I didn't feel unsafe before the Patriot Act. That's my point.
Okay.
So I mean.
And you're in the security business.
I'm in the security business. Yeah.
Well, why are you in the security business if you don't feel unsafe?
Because I'm in the cybersecurity business.
Oh, but you're not safe in cybersecurity.
Well, that's a whole can of worms that I don't think we want to open.
You can't catch somebody hacking you unless you catch them in the act. That's quote just said the last day.
That is a very complicated topic.
All right, we've got about 30 seconds. Any last thoughts?
No.
Well, Ken, you will have the last word on that. Then. Next up on the flip side, our panel is going to weigh in on some big changes coming to Hagerstown's Cultural Trail. Stay tuned. We're back in 3.